Hey gang, Chris Holowicki coming at you live from Elmhurst, Illinois, where I'm going to see The Marvels. Now this, of course, is the Thursday pre-screen showtime, so you know that this is gonna be packed. Luckily for me, of course, I bought my tickets 8 weeks in advance. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of people out front. They must all be inside already. Let's fucking go. Here we are, The Marvels. It's like I'm the only one here.
I want my enemies to see a rainbow of destruction.
Cheers.
Engulfing the world.
You are now in a reality parallel to your own.
Oh, shit.
That's right. 2 intros. What's up, motherfuckers? Hey gang, how you doing? Looks like I got a couple people in here between Twitch and YouTube. It's the best turnout I could hope for. Even after tagging everyone on Twitter and other places. But yeah, welcome to the Marvels review. I keep on calling it Captain Marvel. It's very confusing. Where we're going to go over all the notes that I took at the Thursday pre-screening of The Marvels. Now, I think you take a wild guess that I did not think this movie was good. Did I think it was terrible? Pretty much. Did I think it was the worst movie in the MCU? Not quite. But it is a glowing example of everything wrong with the output of the MCU post-Endgame. And we're going to talk about it right now. So essentially, this is a bad movie that's just so over-impressed with itself, which you could say for a lot of the movies coming out of the MCU, especially in the humor department. There's all these scenes where I think that the people making the movie, they think that the audience is laughing along with them, but even in packed crowds, maybe a chuckle here or there. They just seem to be on autopilot, though, and they think that the audience is just going to keep coming back to lap it up, even as it dwindles in quality. And they're right to a certain extent. But even I couldn't have predicted how poorly Captain Marvel 2 was going to do in theaters. And it's kind of upsetting because to try to regain that audience, it's going to be rough. Even if the next 3 movies are good, people are going to remember the last 4 or 5 of them, which were mediocre to bad. And, yeah. In the comedy scenes, which, you know, these movies don't have to be funny. They're the ones who insist that they're sort of action comedies, but these are things you could look for. It's funny when everyone is yelling. It's funny because everybody is talking at once. It's funny because everyone is overacting, and it reminds me very much of something that started in Star Wars long before it infected the MCU. And I think this shot of Rey from The Force Awakens really captures the tone that I'm talking about here. And you say all the actors are acting overexcited to try to match the excitement that the audience, that they think the audience has. And sure, in The Force Awakens, they were able to achieve that easily. But everything since then, not so much, especially with what they've been delivering. A lot of the dialogue in the Marvels reminded me, like, straight up of being forced to sit through an episode of The Gilmore Girls. Everyone's talking really fast to the point where you can't really tell what they're even saying. It's hard to understand them. and this is what they're passing off as humor. And they seem to like rush through these scenes that are supposed to be like sort of character bonding moments. That just, they feel rushed, they feel unnatural, and everything about it feels pretty unearned. And I have an example of this. If you all remember Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, here's the scene where we get the introduction of Riri Williams. And I'd say this is a great example of something that we see in Marvel over and over that just falls flat, at least with me. Let's look at the interaction with the introduction of Riri.
Get out of my dorm. Get out. Hey, I'm warning you, do not take another step toward me.
So now we've never met Riri Williams before, but here she is, and this is she's been on screen for like maybe 30 seconds, and now she's having these wacky interactions with these two characters, and all these funny lines are getting thrown at
They
us.
teach the children to treat their guests.
Put this spit in here. In here.
Overacting, big open eyes, everyone's having fun. Except for the audience, of course.
Hey. Put it down. Put it. You hurt yourself. Come on.
It's all right, princess. Small girl. I am going to give you 2 options. You can come to Wakanda.
Hold up. What the fuck? Where's my... Alright. Fucking up already. Where is my browser? Uh-oh. No, not this. What the fuck? Okay. I got this, don't worry. There we go. Can we see it now? All right, let's do this. Here, I'll back a ways.
Hey, I'm warning you, do not take another step toward me.
See how they teach the children to treat their guests.
Put this spit in here. Who brought this beer in here?
I like her.
Hey. Put it down. Put it. You hurt yourself. Come on.
It's all right, princess. Small girl. I am going to give you 2 options. You can come to Wakanda, conscious or unconscious.
You need to be conscious of the way that you look. Walking around here with that ash on your head.
Oh, it's funny.
No.
It's funny because
told you.
yeah. It's funny because the characters are laughing. They're laughing, so you should be laughing. Riri Williams called this woman with perfect skin ashy because black and and it's just it's terrible, and it feels so forced. And this is how we're introduced to Riri Williams, and then you're supposed to, right after the scene's over, you're supposed to feel that, oh, we love Riri Williams. Look at how she gets along with all the other characters. But it's just like, we've just met this character, and then in a scene after this, she has an Iron Man suit that she made out of garbage. But let's not get too hung up on Black Panther, because we are talking about the Marvels. But yeah, it's all these forced scenes to like force bonding between the characters, and we're seeing Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel meet for the first time, and we have a bunch of wacky scenes very similar to this. Let's look at another example I have here of this same sort of comedy writing.
It did not break my glass.
In the Marvels. Here's a scene from the Marvels, which luckily this has subtitles, because otherwise you probably wouldn't be able to understand what all these people are saying or keep up with them, because they're all talking at the same time or within a microsecond of each You notice that the last line says, "It looks like she's having so much fun." It's almost as if he's making fun of the scene itself. Like he's talking to the audience. She looks like she's having fun, so aren't you? Aren't you fun? We're insisting that everything that on screen is very funny and very fun. But is it? I don't know. Not for me. And, you know, movies can have moments where you can get just as hyped as the characters on screen if it's done well, but they just toss it out there and it's completely unearned and it falls flat. At least for me, I could see right through it. All right, now let's get into body swapping is a big story element in here. The movie revolves around this body swap. Can't think of the word. Let's say element again. Just trying to think of another word. Which is very confusing throughout the movie. Sometimes it's when the characters use their superpowers, they swap bodies with each other, and I don't think it's ever fully explained because sometimes it happens, other times it doesn't. It kind of just happens when it needs to serve the movie. And as for the action, it's really toothless. There's not really any stakes or tension. The fight choreography is pretty poor, and I've seen many compare it to Power Rangers, which I would say that's pretty accurate. Let's take a look at a fight scene from the Marvels. Is my fucking browser up? All right, good. God damn it. I could actually pause this one. There's a lot of problems with this scene. There's the fight choreography, which is meh. The music that they mix it with really is distracting. And, yeah, I'm just not buying any of it.
I don't like that name.
Also, the whole Annihilator thing, they really should have explained why she was called Annihilator earlier in the film, because I'm just like, did they call her Annihilator in the first Captain Marvel? It's been a few years since I watched it, so that was just confusing, and they waited way. Right here, this is the wire work that they're doing compared it to the Power Rangers. And I would say right here, this shot right here of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. I could jump to another part of the review here. Samuel L. Jackson is playing a completely different character than we've seen than we've got to know in the MCU. He's completely emasculated. He doesn't react to things in which this character normally would. And you just look at that big old smile on his face there, Mr. Stoic Nick Fury, and he's just palling around with Miss Marvel because this is now a little kids franchise. Man, why can't I get him on the smile? Man, that ends just right there. But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson playing completely different character. Oh, you know what? That was the next thing I was going to talk about on the list anyway, so that's fine. What's up next? Valkyrie shows up out of nowhere to save some scrolls, and I'm just wondering, when did Captain Marvel and Valkyrie become friends? We've never seen them interact in any movie that I remember. Apparently, they're good buddies. She refers to them as friends. And that's the thing, that at least with the good guys and gals, all the women are friends. All of the women, except for our main villain, are all the bestest of buddies, which actually hurts this film because there's zero conflict between any of them. There's no part of the movie where they all have a falling out and they break apart, go to their separate places, only for them to come back together and save the day. It's just they pretty much just get along. There's no real conflict between them, which, okay, well, what are we doing here? What's the movie? Yeah, and this is something that we've seen in not only every Marvel product post-Endgame, but every Disney product since, I guess, The Force Awakens. That's when it's the Disney rules, the Disney guidelines that everything out of Disney must follow. Yeah, and it's just really exhausting. It's like, you know exactly. You're just like, oh, well, we know how these two characters are going to get along because this is a Disney movie and it has to be this way. There's no screenwriting. Everything's written by committee. You need to have this and that. There's a checklist, and characters can only interact in so many ways. Yeah, the only conflict we really see between any of the characters, anything that comes close, is grown-ass Monica Rambeau, who's giving Carol shit because she wasn't around for her when she was a kid. And even into adulthood. She's like, where were you when my mom died? I'm like, you're an adult, and I don't even live on this planet. It's like, what the fuck? Like, everyone's got problems, and I only met you once when you were a little kid, so I wasn't really buying their little attempt at conflict between the main characters. Didn't really work. Now let's talk a little bit more about Monica Rambeau, because this character is very confusing to me. I'm still, after watching a full movie with her, I'm not sure what her fucking powers are. Her power set's very confusing. I guess she does learn how to fly in a really rushed scene. Nick Fury says, black girl magic. 'Cause at first she's like, I don't know how to fly. And he just says, use black girl magic. And then she's soaring through the skies. I'm just like, okay. Has she ever flown before? Is this the first time? It's really unclear what her power level is. There's the questions I've had was, does she need a spacesuit? Because the first time we see her in the movie, she's in a spacesuit. But then later in the movie, she's in the vacuum of space without any protection on, and she's fine. She even gets trapped in, this is a spoiler review, by the way. She gets trapped in outer space in another dimension, and apparently that's not a problem. And so I'm like, why is she wearing a spacesuit? And is she invincible? Because she takes a fall in this movie on the singing 90% water planet, where she gets first blown off of something from an explosion, which I think would have killed that character to begin with. But not only that, she falls downwards from heights that had to have been like well above a skyscraper and lands in 2 inches of water on the beach. Like, right on the edge of the beach. She slams in the ground, and she just gets up like everything's fine. And I'm just like, so she's invincible. Because that fall would kill anyone. But then later in the movie, you discover that there is no fall damage in the Marvels. Because after Samuel L. Jackson and all those creepy CGI cats escaped the space station on a escape pod, it lands full force onto the surface of Earth. Just slams in the ground. There's no like parachute. It doesn't slow down. They could have done anything special effects wise, like had a parachute or had some thrusters to make it land a little easier, or maybe shown that it fell into something that broke their fall. But no, the spaceship crashes right on the ground from outer fucking space, which would turn everybody into jelly. But nah, it's just terrible execution all around. They weren't paying enough attention, apparently. Yeah, so there's no fall damage in this movie. Okay, on to Miss Marvel. Let's talk about her. Now, this is like a 21-year-old actress that the way that they dress her up in this movies, they make her look like she's built like a mini fridge for some reason. And I was looking, I'm just like, she looks very strange every time I see her on camera. But I looked her up, and I'm just like, no, she's looks like a normal woman in her 20s. but for some reason in the MCU, they really make her look square. And it got to the point where, like, are they binding this woman's chest? I'm like, what are they doing here? Very strange. Very strange. And you know what? Kamala Khan, whatever her name is, the actress, I thought her performance was really good. I mean, well, it could have been good if she was working with better material. She screams too much. They have all these setups, so they're like, okay, here's another scene where you scream, and that'll be funny, but I think that with better direction and better material, a Miss Marvel movie, or I didn't watch a TV show, but maybe the TV show works. Maybe the TV show is better than the movie. Captain Marvel, we get a lot more of the same out of this character. She's a little less stoic, but when it comes to Brie Larson, it seems like this type of comedy is really out of her range. There's a montage where they're doing like a jump rope, like training montage where they're like learning how to deal with their body swap problem. And when she's doing all this silly Billy stuff, it does not come off as natural. It's quite awkward. Let's see. The villain, really, really generic villain. Basically a girl version of the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. I forget that character's name. And we get introduced to the quantum bands, which Miss Marvel has one of those. They don't explain in the movie. I'm sure in the show they explain it, but in the movie audience, they don't explain why Kamala has one and why the other one is on this moon somewhere. And we don't get a lot of information about these things, but you see in the movie that they could do some serious shit. Seriously confusing shit. Yeah, so it's unclear what these things do and why. Never find out why Kamala has one of them. Okay, I said that. We showed that using them in combination, the Kree warrior main villain, she puts on both of them at the same time and clicks them together, and it turns her into a fucking skeleton. And then moments later, Kamala Khan, which is like a human and possibly mutant, like the X-Men, she puts them on right away, and no one has any problems with it. They're just like, no one's saying that maybe you shouldn't put those on because it just turned that alien into a fucking skeleton. But she tossed them on. Maybe there were some deleted scenes that kind of explain that more. I mean, the movie was only an hour and 45 minutes, and they possibly try to chop it down a lot. So maybe we're missing a lot of context there. Yeah, Kamala's fine wearing them. But then they also show that I was like under the impression, okay, Kamala needs to wear at least one of them to have her superpowers. But when she gets hers ripped off, she still has superpowers. So I'm like, so what's the fucking point of this thing? Anyway, it's another thing on par with the 9 rings from Shang-Chi. It's just another ancient alien weapon that's not all that interesting. And frankly, we have too many of these fucking things in these movies. Yeah, it's very strange. Now, all of these characters are linked, we're told, because they all have light powers. Now, from what I understand, Kamala got her powers from the bracelet, and then it's also revealed at the end of the series that she is also a mutant. So I'm like, so where do her powers come from? Why does it matter that she's a mutant? Whatever. Captain Marvel, she got her powers because a space car battery blew up in her face. That's how she got her powers. And Monica Rambeau got her power by walking through a witch force field. So my question is, why does that link up all 3 of those people? Because Kamala named herself Marvel, and Monica and Carol Danvers knew each other in the past. What exactly is connecting all 3 of these in a way that makes sense? Because in the movie, they don't explain it. On a positive note, Brie Larson is allowed to dress like a lady. She looks hot in some of this. She's wearing a tank top. She's showing a little bit of stomach, and that was refreshing. I figured that they would have her completely under wraps, but Brie Larson's pretty hot. Okay, here's one of my main grievances with both the Captain Marvel movies. I hate Goose. And I hate the fucking Flurkins. And I have some reasons for that. First of all, it's not cute. It's an ugly, they're all ugly, uncanny valley cats made with shitty CGI. They're not funny. And I would say that they're not popular in the comic books. Let's take a look at the origins of the fucking Flurkins here. Okay, the Flurkin, also called Flurkins as plural, are alien creatures resembling Earth's cats in appearance and behavior. They reproduce by laying up to 117 eggs and possess many tentacles that can extend from their mouths. Their bodies also hold pocket realities, bubbles of space and time that exist in other worlds. And this character, I guess you'd call it, was introduced by a woman named Kelly Sue DeConnick, who is one of the main players in the destruction of the Marvel comic books. She's one of the big names in terrible current year books. She, of course, is famous for this little outburst, which is...
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
Yeah, that's the attitude that Kelly Sue DeConnick has. Real toxic waste individual in the comic industry, and has turned off a lot of readers of the books. So basically, the Flurkins are just some LOL so random thing that was tossed into a pretty unpopular Captain Marvel book that almost nobody has read. And this is one of my big problems I have with what they've been doing post-Endgame with the MCU. They are tripping over themselves to adapt comic books that comic fans fucking despise. The fact that Riri Williams, a very unpopular character that was created by Disney just to diversify things because they would prefer that Iron Man be a black teenager who's smarter than everyone in the world, because he has to be. Every female character is the smartest person in the world in the MCU and the books. And Goose and the Flurkins are another example of that. Like, the Flurkins, Riri Williams, Miss Marvel, if this is what Marvel Comics is based on, if this is the characters from back in the day, there would be no MCU. They're not why the comics are popular, and they're not what are going to obviously getting people to go see these fucking movies. So yeah, fuck the Flurkins and fuck Goose. All right, let's talk about the Singing Planet. It's not as awful as it is confusing and pointless, but I think I know why we had that whole scene. They had this guy, Park Seo-joon. He's a Korean actor or a K-pop star or something, and he was basically in the movie to get butts and seats in Korea and other parts of Asia. I don't know if maybe that worked out for them. Not sure, but that is a big reason why that scene happened and why he was in the movie. And there's some really... and then there's also some confusion there because it's unclear if after Captain Marvel and friends book it, if their planet is completely destroyed. Because they're supposed to be Brie Larson's friends, but they just kind of leave mid-battle, and it leaves you the question, wait, so did all those people die? Did they just leave them there to die? And it was really confusing because a scene before this, Kamala Khan was all upset because they couldn't save every single Skrull from another planet, but then she goes and hits a button that makes them ditch all the people on the Singing Planet. That sentence I just said has got to be so fucking confusing for anyone who hasn't seen this goddamn movie. Yeah, she bailed on him. in closing, the end credit scene. We see Beast from the X-Men. And we all know it was a last-minute reshoot to crowbar into this thing. So we know not really any thought went into it. It's not building up to something that that's part of a big plan. They're just like, oh, fucking throw in an X-Men reference so that we might get people to come in to see the movie from word of mouth. And it's just a nothing. It's a nothing scene. And you hear Kelsey Grammer in a really crummy CGI Beast. And it just lands like it feels very inconsequential and flat. And that's that. That's the Marvels. A really flawed movie. Really confusing. Just not good on many levels. And now because of its apparent failure, the future of the MCU is, I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to keep making shows? Are they going to try to make the shows better? Are they going to work on the overall stories? Are they going to scale back on movies? Look what happened to Star Wars. Star Wars shit the bed, and now they don't make Star Wars movies anymore. And maybe because of decisions made in just the past 4 years, we may be getting less Marvel movies. And, if they're gonna suck, I guess I don't care. But they had a really good thing going. It was something that I was excited to go out and see for 10 years. I saw almost every MCU flick in theaters, except for maybe the first Thor. That's the only one I missed. And now it's just to watch it in its current state is frankly, it's depressing. Because now the movies suck, the comic book sucks, and it's all Disney's goddamn fault. But yeah, that's about it, motherfuckers. Say that, anyone, let me know what you thought of the Marvels. Did I forget anything? What do you think's gonna happen to the future of the MCU? Are you optimistic, or do you think it's maybe it's time to let it die? Or reboot it? Because I don't trust that Disney's gonna change course quickly enough. They seem to be very stubborn and set in their stupid ways. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for everybody who tuned in for the live. A couple people that did. And thanks for everybody who watches this later. It's looks like we're clocking in about 45 minutes. I think I got everything I was looking for. But yeah, if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bong for notifications. If anyone's watching on Twitch, fucking follow me. But until next time, everybody, make sure to stay metal and hail Satan. Good night.